Hey there guys, it's Dr. Craig. I'm out here in Florida having just finished the 15 pounds healthier in 15 weeks. And I just want to talk a little bit about lessons learned. There were a whole bunch of lessons learned. As I said right at the beginning of any programs I do, the whole reason of the program is not to really achieve the goal, although it's really important to have the goal because that's the destination you're headed to. A little bit like you need a map to work out where you're going to be driving, otherwise you just end up going around in circles. But the main reason is the person you become on the journey, okay? The changes you make, the things you learn, the mistakes you make, because remember, making mistakes actually is the best way to learn. It burns neural pathways a lot stronger than successfully doing something, which is why when we have these vivid memories, they're normally tied to something fairly emotional. And obviously making mistakes can be emotional for most of us. Okay, so it's not about it's the person that we become on the journey. So what did I learn? What I learned was the program is very intelligent in that it ramps things up. So if you've never done something quite as extreme as a kind of pure, strict keto diet, it's a fantastic way just to lower yourself into that type of eating regimen. I love the protein balls that I was using. I found not eating after 8 o'clock a lot tougher than I thought. I thought it was going to be pretty much a no-brainer. The snacking I've had down for a few years. The type of things I teach, or the type of principles that we apply on the 15 pounds healthier eating program, or the lifestyle program, are things I've done 2 or 3 times before. This is probably my 3rd round. So not snacking and having protein balls was easy for me. And then later on, not snacking at all was pretty straightforward as well. But as I say, the not eating after 8 o'clock I found harder. And you're talking from not eating from 8 till perhaps 8 the next morning if you're not doing intermittent fasting. If you start the intermittent fasting, that's not eating until 12. So you finish eating at 8 in the evening, you don't eat again till 12, just water and your coffee without cream and milk, or tea without cream and milk. I've heard Dr. Berg, who's one of the big advocates of healthy keto, he says you can have some cream because the cream is fat, and what you're trying to do is get the body to burn fat instead of carbs, whereas milk turns into lactose, which is really another form of carbs. So that's stuff that I learned that I didn't realize before. The sugar alternatives that are espoused on keto diets. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan. Anything that claims to give you something from nothing is a fugazi as far as I'm concerned. There is always a price to pay. It may not be at that moment in the way you expect, but it comes a lot later and often with interest. I'm a huge believer of that. So things like stevia is a natural leaf. I don't like the taste of it. It tastes way too similar to aspartame. So I'm just so although it's a leaf, is it still causing the neural damage that aspartame does? I know there's huge debates on that. It's been going on since the 70s, but over 74 papers were written on the dangers of aspartame by the same guy over a 5-year period, and he was working for the FDA, and he was trying to stop it being introduced. There's a lot of material online about that. You guys can check it out for yourselves and make your own decision. That's really important. But for me, I am not a fan of alternative sweeteners. If you're going to have anything, I would suggest just have some, but in smaller quantities if you can. For me, I've been cutting sugar out of my diet over the last few years anyway. I don't have it in tea or coffee. My kids were always taught to have, we avoided cereal whenever possible, but if we ever had cereal, like when I was a kid, we loaded it in sugar, but I didn't do that with my own children because obviously we didn't know any better then, but we do now. So so the not eating after 8 was tougher, so that was kind of going on there. Now, what else did we learn on the program? We talked about the sugar, the aspartame and the things like the monk fruit. Now that is a bit of a scam. So when you got the monk fruit sweetener, it sounds like it's a fruit, sounds like it's going to be good, but when you actually look at the ingredients, like there's like less than 0.5% is monk fruit, and the other 99.5% of the sweetener is erythritol, which is an alcohol sugar, and it's made from fermented GMO corn, none of which sounds good, okay, or healthful. And then I saw some studies just when I did my very basic research, and the studies were done in the last couple of years, literally in the last 2 years. I was a scientist that did multiple studies, and he found that erythritol caused blood to clot a lot quicker than it should. He did it on animals, and he actually did a big study on people that consumed erythritol, and the stroke incidence was something like 5 times the normal stroke incidence. And they put it on blood outside of the body and watched it clot up when erythritol was added. So anyway, not a fan of that in any way, shape or form. So I did buy some. It does taste like sugar. You'd think, wow, this is awesome, but I think there is a big downside that probably has still got to come out yet. It is generally recognized as safe, so it's a GRAS subject according to the FDA, but again, that doesn't really mean much at all. Right, what else did we learn? So so I lost by week 12, I'd lost 15 pounds. You probably heard me mention it before. My weight was 191 when I started. My usual target weight is 186. I kind of hover around there and have done probably for the last 20 years. But I brought myself down to 175, which is like I've never been that probably since I was, I don't know, 18. So yeah, clearly the eating style works, all right? I was doing intermittent fasting a little quicker than in my program. I think the program says to start it around about week 10 or 11 or 12. Actually probably week 8 or 10. I think I was doing it from about week 2 or 3 just because I've been doing it anyway. So for me it wasn't a big step. And the other thing that I brought into my eating style is having a fast day. And the reason I did this is initially when I started at 15 pounds, I started eating a bunch of chia because it's high in protein, but I felt super bloated. And I was like that probably for a week. And I'm not saying it was just the chia, I was eating some other stuff as well. And high in protein, but you gotta eat a lot of it. I think blending it and processing it, when you process it, it smells super fatty. So you can actually see the oil from the chia seeds, but it's then like a powder instead of the seeds. I think that's gonna be much less harmful for the digestion tract, much easier to digest. But you probably wanna blend those seeds just as you're doing it to keep them fresh, just as you're about to consume them. And I think that'll be much easier on the digestive system. And as I say, I was feeling super bloated, and I said I'm just gonna do a fast day. A friend of mine, a chiropractic friend of mine, has done fast days for many years, and he basically has 1 day off a week from eating. It just gives the digestion system a chance to rest. And I'm a pretty heavy eater. I love my food, so I started to do that. And the first 3 weeks, so one day a week over 3 weeks, it was easy. I didn't feel hungry at all. But then I think as I started to lose weight, maybe when I was down to like 177, when I was fasting then, I found that I was getting hungry. The other thing I noticed, I was getting cold. I don't usually get that cold. Maybe it's because when I had the fast day, I wasn't going for my usual run. So maybe my body temperature wasn't up, or maybe it was just the weather. But I kind of noticed, I mean, obviously I'm 10 pounds lighter, there's 10 pounds less fat to insulate myself than I normally have. So I think that played into it a bit for sure. Now, the big one is, what do we do when we come off of our eating style, okay? So we've been working hard, we've got the weight off, we're feeling better, more energized. Actually, let me go, was I feeling more energized? The very first fast day, I felt super good. Yeah, I felt light, I felt energized. But then the second and third fast day, I felt cloudy headed. You know, I couldn't concentrate. I actually had to drink some coffee because I didn't want to eat, and I thought, well, the best thing to do is drink a little bit of coffee to try and get myself focused. So I had some talks that I needed to do and some work I needed to complete. So for me, that's what I did there to get myself back locked in again, really, because I was just like a bubblehead. So sorry, I kind of digressed there slightly. So, coming off of the eating style, now for me, I've come to see my daughter in Florida the very day I finished the eating style. This is not ideal, because I'm mobile and traveling, so I got to grab, what I can. Although that is a little bit of an excuse. It is very easy to make excuses. I could go to a shop and just shop for meat and protein and good vegetables. The honest truth is I could do that, but it's just, I'm on holiday, I'm letting it go a little bit. However, what I would do is I would keep with the intermittent fasting initially, introduce probably some potatoes. I've introduced a few potatoes now for sure. I'm still not a huge fan of processed bread. I think there's way too much man-made stuff in there. So I'm avoiding the toast still, although actually I had some this morning. This is about 6 days back into eating normally, as it were, eating a regular diet. I'm still having a lot of protein. I'm still very conscious of what I'm eating. So eggs and stuff. And this morning I was and ahhing whether to have this toast, but it was actually Cuban toast. I've never had Cuban toast, so it was really just fried bread. But there we go. And I was with my daughter, so it was fun. So I do like my own homemade granola. I find that the granola in the stores is super, super, super sweet. So I did reintroduce granola initially with a lot of nuts. It's always good to keep a bit of yogurt in there as well because of the protein. So kind of that's where I was going. And then main meals, same again, really. I've not really missed the potatoes. Like every now and then at breakfast, I miss a few hash browns, but I could get away pretty easily with reintroducing, a bit more milk, and as I said, maybe a few more potatoes, but not going too crazy about that. Proteins, and then actually the vegetables would be the good thing to get in, because you see on the keto, the things like your carrots and parsnips and the heavier vegetables and potatoes and the sweet potatoes, they're not keto friendly. So for me, one of the biggest lessons is that it's tough to do the keto. It's doable, definitely doable, but you got to be conscious, you got to be disciplined, self-disciplined, because it's your future. So it's not the sort of discipline where you're doing stuff for other people. You're doing it for yourself, for your future self. And I think they do say it makes a difference. I think if you're being strict, I think you're going to lose a lot more weight. I found that when I was strict, I seemed to drop from 180 to 175 pretty quickly, and then I basically was around 176 I kind of finished at. So I actually dropped 16 pounds in the end. I just got down to 175.3 from 191. So anyway, and that was good, and that was interesting. I've never really weighed my weight continuously ongoing like that. So yeah, nice to have the measurement. I think that, right, but not to take too much attention to it, because of course I could be gaining muscle as I'm losing fat, and muscle's heavier than fat, so you could actually be putting on weight. I didn't go too crazy on the exercise. I was doing push-ups every day. I was doing basically 4 minutes of push-ups and a plank, and a 3-minute plank, and then running every other day. But that's part of my routine anyway. I would suggest, if it wasn't part of your routine, introduce something, not necessarily like running every day, perhaps a run walk, floor exercises, just a tolerance. So if you could do like 10 or 20 really good quality push-ups, and then just build on that, but do it every day, okay? So even if one day you don't feel like doing 50 push-ups or whatever it is you're at, you could do 25, then just make sure you're doing something every day. That's the key. All right, anyway, I hope this feedback has been of some use. It was quite an interesting journey. I will be doing it again. I'll probably do this about every 6 months. Might even coincide with when I do it, when I present it. I'm not going to commit to that, because there may be some presentations of the 15 pounds healthier where I've got other stuff going on, because I'm always trying to better myself. I'm always experimenting with myself, so I give you guys the very best service, the best programs, the best advice, that sort of thing. All right, guys. So anyway, I hope that's been of use, and I'm going to go and enjoy my daughter doing soccer. Yeah. So Dr. Craig over and out.